we got to start here. Let's just jump right into it with the stories of the day and why I said it's kind of fitting we may be watching that Packers Washington game is because we got to talk about this Washington football team, folks. So Washington was fined $10 million following a workplace review of their team. And this goes back to last year, folks. We talked about it, the Washington football team scandal. We have 2 videos on it last year. They're titled Washington Scandal and Washington Scandal Part 2. So you can find those on our YouTube channel if you want to go and kind of get all the information of what was truly going on in the Washington football team front office as well as the cheerleaders, folks, because that was a whole wild thing that we read. We're not going to go back and talk about all that. And, there was text messages and article after article. You do have to subscribe to like the Washington Post if you wanted to read that article. We did that and then we unsubscribed, but I'm not going to resubscribe to that to, just kind of, gloss over it. So just kind of, for the cheerleading aspect, it was real wild, folks. They were like, they were kind of like using their cheerleaders as kind of like escorts for kind of the VIP club members, the season ticket holder VIP, very important clients that they were trying to get business with. It was real messy, folks. There was like this one photo shoot when they were in a foreign country on the beach, and then they were once again being kind of escorted-ish. I'm not going to say anything's concrete because once again, this is all kind of, he said, she said, we get firsthand accounts from the cheerleaders and what they're saying, but then we also had kind of the cheer captain who was overseeing everything kind of saying, yeah, it didn't really play out like that. So once again, we're just kind of, we're saying what the cheerleaders were saying. Obviously, we can't say it as concrete proof and all that, but that whole story was absolutely bizarre. So if you want to kind of check that out, that's on our YouTube channel. Just search Washington cheer. What was it? It's like Washington football team scandal. And I will have to preface it by saying this. This was very early in our Takes by Fans career. So that first video, we were sweating profusely in our studio here. Now we got the adequate air. Very, very comfortable here. So we're not sweating. We're not sweating anymore in the studio. And then also, once again, it was very early in our Takes by Fans career, and we were kind of trying to be like NPR with the very soft talking, and this is a podcast, so we're very soft spoken. So we've grown, folks. We have grown. But those are our little earlier videos. So if you want to check out those details, we do have the video on that. But I do kind of want to take a step through this article from ESPN about this entire thing, what's happening with Dan Snyder, the owner of Washington, what's happening now because of the ruling with the $10 million, because everything folks, you would never even know about the scandal, folks. That got buried instantly last year. We talked about it, and that was really it. You didn't really hear any information, and now I want to go in this article to really see what is going on with those consequences from the ruling of, what they find officially. Washington has been fined $10 million as a result of the NFL's investigation into team culture. So once again, they're kind of sweeping it under the rug. There's no kind of accountability. There's no really kind of hinting back to that article and pointing, what actually happened. It's all just kind of, broad. Oh, it's, it was the culture. It was the culture in the front office. That's what it is. But we're really not getting into the nitty gritty details of truly what happened. And if you didn't remember of what happened, or watch our video from last year, you would be like, oh, this is kind of nothing. Oh, we're not even really kind of seeing any concrete details in here. Oh, it's just kind of overall, it's just overall team culture. Oh, okay. So they're just kind of truly dancing around this. And we do have an article by somebody else, an opinion piece from the Washington Post that it's kind of calls it out a little bit. So I do kind of want to just read these 2 articles, get all the information on what is going on with this Washington team. So let's start here with the ESPN article. Let's read through this and let's see what we get and what is happening now that the Washington football team has been... hang on. Did they just delete this article? Hang on. Here we go. Okay, here we go. The NFL has fined the Washington football team $10 million as a result of the league's investigation into the team's workplace culture. The money will be used to support organizations committed to character education, anti-bullying, healthy relationships, and related topics, the league said. In addition, Tanya Snyder, Dan Snyder's wife, who was named the team's co-CEO this week. So once again, kind of, a lot of section. So with the cheerleaders, it was kind of like escorting and it was real bizarre. And then in the front office, it was just kind of classic, hierarchy, women feeling kind of truly uncomfortable. And there was a lot of, text messages and really kind of damning evidence that these women were really telling the truth, kind of a hostile work environment for females. That's just kind of classic in a lot of business. It shouldn't be that way, but that's kind of, when you think of sexual harassment in the workplace, I'm sure you can always, they're talking about this and, feeling kind of, lesser, feeling like they have to do it or they'll get fired, stuff like that. And that was all backed up by text messages and firsthand accounts when we talked about that story as well. And one quote is just sticking out in my mind from that from the articles on when all this came out. It was like somebody, a guy in the front office was saying like, damn, she had an ass like a wagon. So, just kind of, classic sexual harassment, not wanted advances that men think, I'm being playful and funny, and women kind of being like, I'm here to work, y'all. Like, I'm not here to just kind of be made like a sex object of. So that's the front office kind of what was going on in the front office of Washington. But let's get back to the article here. So they name, Tanya Snyder, a woman, a co-CEO, to once again just kind of sweep this under the rug. Hey, we don't discriminate over here. We got the owner's wife. Yeah, we're gonna appoint her the co-CEO. So it's like, what? So Tanya Snyder, who was named the team's co-CEO this week, will take over the day-to-day duties and represent the franchise at league functions for the next several months. Her husband, Dan Snyder, will focus on a new stadium plan and other matters. So they're trying to they can't force Dan Snyder out as the owner of Washington. I think they've tried multiple times and he never budges. He's keeping it. So they're trying to kind of move Dan Snyder out of the light and elevate his wife, Tanya Snyder, as, all right, she's actually the face. She's the overall face. And, Dan Snyder, he just handles, whatever. We put him in the basement. We don't want y'all to even know about this man. So all senior executives, including Snyder, will take part in training in workplace conduct covering topics such as bullying, diversity and inclusion, LGBTQ plus issues, microaggressions, and unconscious bias. So Dan Snyder got everybody in trouble now. Thanks, Dan. We got to go to this freaking diversity meeting. Jeez, we know how to treat people. You don't, and now we all have to pay for it. Damn you, Dan. Quote here by Dan Snyder. I have learned a lot in the past few months about how my club operated. I mean, how bizarre is that, folks? Dude, you cannot tell me if you are the owner of a company, a business, anything, a Facebook page, a Twitter page. If you're the owner of anything, you know exactly what is going on in every department on everything, folks. That's like your job. You just oversee everything. You have daily meetings. All right, what's going on with this? Okay. All right, now you, what's up? What's in your department? Okay, that's going on. All right. You delegate, but you always have like a briefing, a meeting every day to catch up on what's going on. So the fact that, I've learned a lot in the past few months about how my club was operated, you know damn well when it was going on. So once again, nobody ever takes responsibility here, folks. And that's kind of why we want to point out this article right here, because we're not getting any kind of tying back to what the real issues were. It's all dancing around and, oh my God, I didn't even know. This is all new to me. Oh my God, I'm as shocked as the NFL. I didn't know this was going on. Come on, folks. Come on. Let's be a little smarter than that. But here we go. Quote, I have learned a lot in the past few months about how my club operated and the kind of workplace that we had. It is now clear that the culture was not what it should be, but I did not realize the extent of the problems or my role in allowing that culture to develop and continue. I know that as the owner, I am ultimately responsible for the workplace. Exactly. So, I wasn't responsible then, but now I know my true duty now, and I'm going to be responsible now. Give us a break. I know that as the owner, I am ultimately responsible for the workplace. I have said that, and I say it again. Okay, so you better be saying it every day, because it kind of seems like sometimes, you actually forget. So let's say this every day so you don't forget, so the workplace environment is not hostile anymore. Continue on with Dan Snyder quote here. Quote, I feel great remorse for the people who had difficult, even traumatic experiences while working here. There was one kind of, front office woman that said, I was crying every day because of how I was treated and how I was just kind of sexualized on a daily basis. I would be crying at my desk, crying in the bathroom every single day because, I wanted to be this. This was my dream job, and I finally got here, and now I truly see the inner workings and how it all works. And now it kind of, ruined my dream job. I don't even want to be here anymore. And that's truly unfortunate. Could you imagine getting your dream job and then, finding out, hey, this is actually hostile and this is actually how it operates? Imagine having your dream just crushed right in front of you. I don't want that to happen to me. Shit. So I feel great remorse for the people who had difficult, even traumatic experiences while working here. I'm truly sorry for that. I can't turn back the clock, but I promise that nobody who works here will ever have that kind of experience again. At least not as long as Tanya and I are the owners of this team. Okay. All right. Yeah, because you're in the basement now. Tanya's taking over. So hopefully Tanya doesn't run the same hostile workplace that Dan did. But, once again, they are husband and wife, so birds of a feather flock together. But we'll see. All right, here we go. Continuing on with the article. Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who represent 40 former employees, said in a statement that the NFL chose, quote, protect owner Dan Snyder, and said the fine amounted to pocket change. Once again, it's $10 million, folks. I mean, come on. That's nothing. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar business. $10 million. It's literally pocket change. So once again, I mean, folks, we're talking about 40 former employees. And I think when we were talking about the cheerleaders, it was about 15. So, I mean, there's weight in numbers, folks. I mean, Deshaun Watson's being accused by 20-plus women. This is 40. So, we do have to kind of, take every information with a grain of salt. I truly understand that. But when we got 40 people all having very similar experiences, you kind of have to take what they say as, kind of fact. If we're judging everything, we have to kind of weight it, at least, 60-40, 60 truth, because nobody's ever going to, Dan Quinn's not taking responsibility or saying that this happens. He's like, if it did happen, I'm sorry. And it won't happen again if it did happen. So once again, it's he said, she said. We don't have any truly concrete evidence. But when we have 40 kind of all having similar experiences, we do have to kind of weigh that in our mind, kind of, all right, let's kind of weigh this 60, at least 60%. This is kind of true. Maybe 40% false, but, when we're doing, if it's above 50-50, we kind of have to lean and, hey, this is kind of, maybe not to the full extent, but yeah, this is kind of what's going on here. Let's continue back here. So, Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who represent 40 former employees, said in a statement that the NFL chose to protect owner Dan Snyder and said the fine amounted to, quote, pocket change. They had wanted the report to be made public, but attorney Beth Wilkinson, who conducted the investigation, orally submitted her findings and recommendations to the league. So it's not even made public. Once again, the NFL sweeping this under the rug. Oh, this is bad for business. We can't have this in the media. And once again, nobody taking accountability, nobody taking that responsibility. And that's, once again, everyone's, hey, if you do something wrong, you got to just take responsibility, take ownership. But the people at the top don't. this kind of ties back to the money. Those college players getting paid. Hey, no, you're getting the free tuition. It's all kind of wrapped up, folks. Don't play by the rules if the people at the top aren't playing by the rules. Come on. Let's keep going back here to this article. We'll talk about NFL players getting paid, or college athletes getting paid in a second. We do have that story, and it's kind of great. But let's keep going here. All right, so they had wanted the report to be made public, but attorney Beth Wilkinson, who conducted the investigation, orally submitted her findings and recommendations to the league. How crazy! And once again, nothing. Let's keep reading the article and see if there's any information that ties back to those previous articles. But let's keep going. Quote: "This is truly outrageous and a slap in the face to the hundreds of women and former employees who came forward in good faith and at great personal risk to report a culture of abuse at all levels of the team, including by Snyder himself." Oh, I didn't know this was going on. He was taking part in it. Their statement said, quote, "The NFL has effectively told survivors in this country and around the world that it does not care about them or credit their experiences. Female fans and fans of goodwill everywhere take note." But once again, everyone's just nobody's going to read this article. Everyone's just going to look at the headline and be like, oh, $10 million. Oh, wow, that must have been something. All right, who's on Hard Knocks this year? Oh, it's the Cowboys. Let's start talking about that. And, we are going to be talking about that too, folks. We're not going all day on Washington, but good portion. Because, it's frustrating how nobody talks about certain things when all this is truly going on and we don't learn and get better. Everyone just wants to sweep everything under the rug. Everyone wants to always do the right thing, but then the people at the top don't. But I'm expected to do that? I'm not buying it. All right, let's get back to the article here. Here we go. In a conference call with the media Thursday, Lisa Fields, the NFL's special counsel for investigations, said Wilkinson found Washington's workplace, quote, highly unprofessional. Bullying and intimidation frequently took place, and many described the culture as one of fear, Friel said, based on Wilkinson's report. She said because of a subpar human resources division, even when reports were made, they were, quote, generally not investigated and led to no meaningful discipline. Quote, "The culture at the club was very toxic and it fell far short of the NFL's values, and we hold ownership to a higher standard." Oh, you do? So you'll only charge him $10 million and make him hire his wife as the co-CEO? That's the punishment? That doesn't seem like that higher of a standard to me. Billionaires having to pay $10 million and then hiring their wives? Oh. I'll get punished like that. What do I have to do to get punished like that? Because I'll do that shit. Where do we leave off? Okay, the culture at the clubs were very toxic and it fell far short of the NFL's values, and we hold ownership to a higher standard, Field said. Quote, "Which is why today's announcement is not only about accountability for the past, but also ensuring the improvements already underway as the club continues in the future." Okay, so everyone has to take bullying courses. All right, because that's going to change everything, right? I'm sure these people already had to take bullying courses. If I remember correctly, they already had to do some of these things, but now they have to do them again. Okay. She said Coach Ron Rivera and team president James Wright were highly respected in that, plus a slew of diverse hirings in the past year led them to believe the organization was making the necessary changes. That is true. Bringing in Ron Rivera, that man's no nonsense. I believe this man is kind of a stand-up guy, a 100% true kind of gentleman man, will never do anything wrong. If Ron Rivera ever does anything wrong, I'm not believing it, folks, surely. So, that's kind of what we were saying. Ron Rivera battling cancer, and then all the distractions going on in the front office, he was still leading this team to the division championships. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. So that's why we're, once again, very big on Ron Rivera. All right, Janet Nova, Deputy General Counsel for Media in the League Business Affairs, said Snyder's decision to step away from day-to-day duties through the fall was a voluntary move. Yeah, I'm sure it was very voluntary. As in, hey, the NFL is like, hey, you can do this, or you're going to get forced out. We will force you out. And Dan Snyder was like, all right, I will voluntarily do this. Come on, folks. The team has been under the independent investigation since July 2020. That's when we started talking about it. That's when all the stories were coming out, folks. July 2020, basically last year, July 2nd, 2021, today, folks. All right, stemming from a number of sexual harassment allegations by previous employees over a 15-year period that were detailed by the Washington Post last summer. If you can find that article that you don't have to kind of pay for, I would definitely recommend reading it. There are text messages, there are concrete evidence that back up everything that that is truly going on. What was going on in the Washington organization, folks? It's a good read. Wilkinson interviewed more than 150 people, mostly current or former employees of the organization, many of whom were granted anonymity. Dan Snyder had released those who spoke with Wilkinson from any confidentiality agreement that they had signed with the organization. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, quote, concludes that for many years, the workplace environment at the Washington football team, both generally and particularly for women, was highly unprofessional. Bullying and intimidation frequently took place, and many described the culture as one of fear, and numerous female employees reported having experienced sexual harassment and a general lack of respect in the workplace, in the NFL said in its statement. The league concluded the team's ownership and senior management paid little or no attention to those issues. In some instances, senior executives engaged in inappropriate conduct themselves, including use of demeaning language and public embarrassment. This was another thing that pops up in my mind when I'm looking at this public embarrassment. This was kind of a male in the front office. He said that he was a former cheerleader, and everybody in the office made him do cartwheels because he came out and said that. So once again, kind of, this is what was truly going on here. If you're not one of the upper echelon people, they were kind of, bullying and intimidating and public embarrassment of anybody. Yes, a lot of females, but this was still happening with men as well. Making a former male cheerleader do cartwheels in the office, folks. It was absolutely wild. This set the tone for the organization and led to the key executives believing that disrespectful behavior and more serious misconduct was acceptable in the workplace. And once again, Dan Snyder was making this acceptable. Maybe not 100% by himself, but the people that he was putting in charge right under him that was, once again, letting this facilitate in the workplace. Wilkinson made a series of 10 recommendations for the Washington franchise going forward. All right, what is his 10 recommendations? One should be fire Dan Snyder, make him sell the team. How about we start with that? All right, number one, develop a formal protocol for reporting allegations of harassment and misconduct. That wasn't already in place. What? Every business has like a HR department, a good one. As we said in this article, they had a bad one, but all right, that's the first thing. 2, develop a disciplinary action plan. 3, conduct anonymous workplace culture and sexual harassment surveys. Oh, that's going to get it done. Hire a third party. Yes, a third party. Let's hire a third party and not let have the NFL appoint their own people, because they'll always side with the NFL, folks. Whoever is signing the check for you to be there, you're going to kind of favor their side a little bit because they're the one providing you the money. So yes, let's hire a third party to provide regular training for all employees on bullying, sexual harassment, and other workplace conduct issues. And also, let's hire a third party to investigate all this nonsense. Increase the number of women and minority employees throughout the organization. Okay, this, all right. Once again, we have to be in a world where, ethnicity, male or female, it doesn't matter. Just hire the right person for the job. And I know that's hard to say because there's always going to be, bias in people's minds. But we have to get to this place where everybody's on the same level and you're just hiring the perfect people for the job. Having to mandatory hire women and minorities and all this, it just really waters down what actually should be happening. So I don't love that. I get it, but I don't love it. There shouldn't be any discrimination anyway in anybody's mind. That's always wild to me. But always just hire the right person for the job, man, truly. And I know corruption at the top, and it affects everything down, and I get all that. But we really just have to come to a place where everybody's on the same level, and people have to start having that mindset. All right. Number 6, implement a clear organizational structure with clear lines of authority. 7, expand and empower the organization's in-house human resources and legal departments. Yeah, how about that's number 1, first of all, so we don't have this again. You're making that number 7? Okay. Number 8, create a formal onboarding process for new hires and a program for regular performance reviews and exit interviews for departing employees. Y'all didn't have that already? That's literally, business 101. Number 9, assign an HR employee to the cheerleading squad or co-ed dance team. And that's funny right there because they got rid of the cheerleading squad when that kind of article came out and made it a co-ed dance team. So yes, have an HR for that because that was, folks, if you were either going to read the article about the cheerleaders or the front office, I would definitely read the one about the cheerleaders because if you want to kind of, go into like, I'm not saying they did this, but if you kind of want to, if you're interested in like human trafficking, just all the information, not actually doing it. If you're interested in like the information of human trafficking and like Jeffrey Epstein and all that, I would definitely recommend that cheerleading article because it's that wild, folks. And then number 10, retain an independent consultant to conduct an annual assessment of employment policies. All right, last couple paragraphs here. Here we go. The franchise is required to report its progress to the league office in implementing each of these recommendations. So Tanya Snyder has to, report all these. I'm sure. I wonder what she's going to say. The first report is due by July 31st. Hey, are you making good headway? Yes? Okay. Come back to us. Sorry, 2 months from now. All right. The franchise also must report the results of the surveys and all complaints, including from exit interviews to the league office. Now, are those going to be made public? Because if they're not, does it even matter? Then we're all going to have, inside payments. Hey, another $10 million, please. It's like, can we make everything public? Can we be transparent? Everyone loves to brag about transparency. Oh, my God, look how transparent we are. Of the stuff that you're transparent about. What about the 90% that is not transparent? Oh, but we are transparent. Look at this transparent. Look at the 10% transparent. No, what's the back? What's in the back room? I want to know what's in that. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, why? Why? Everyone loves to be transparent until transparent comes up, and then everyone's not transparent, folks. All right, quote, I agree with the commissioner's decision in this matter and am committed to implementing his investigation's important recommendations, Dan Snyder said, that he's once again going to pass down to Tanya Snyder. In February, the team reached a settlement. The team reached a settlement with its former cheerleaders who appeared in lewd videos made without their knowledge. I love how this is at the very end of the article when everyone was done reading by the 10 garbage goals that they were putting forward. How classic of an article, no? This is why we're reading it. This is why we're bringing it up. Damn. In February, the team reached a settlement with its former cheerleaders who appeared in lewd videos made without their knowledge during the swimsuit calendar photo shoot in 2008 and 2010. That's the one where they went to like this separate country and they took away their passports and said, you really can't leave. We have your passports. Folks, I'm telling you, it was that crazy. We have a video on it. Go watch it. It's the first one, Washington Scandal Part 1 or something like that. Number 2 is in the front office, but the first video is about the cheerleaders, and it's crazy. All right. Where did we leave off? Here we go. The franchise also announced that it had paused its cheerleader program amid its rebranding. Once again, they stopped the cheerleading program when the article came out and made it a co-ed dance team. But the move was not tied to the investigation. Oh, okay, yeah. It wasn't tied to the investigation. Okay. It's just a coincidence that these people didn't have their passports and they were in lewd videos made without their consent. Oh, but that was something different. That was just something that we wanted to do. Okay. It was right at the same time. It's real coincidental that this stuff was happening 2000, 2008, and 2010. And then it comes out in 2020, and now you're like, okay, now let's change it. Okay, classic. Once again, nobody taking responsibility. We can all just make excuses. Oh, that? Yeah, that wasn't tied to the investigation. No, it wasn't. We just did it. Because every team has co-ed dance teams instead of cheerleaders, right? Come on. The moves the franchise has made to improve its culture over the past 18 months, including hiring Rivera as head coach. And I hate that kind of Ron Rivera kind of got this job just because he's a good guy. Oh, he's a good guy. He's a good face of this team. Let's hire him. He made it work, so I give him credit. And we're big fans of Ron Rivera. This is not a bashing at all of Ron Rivera. We are big on that man. So the moves the franchise has made to improve its culture over the past 18 months, including hiring Ron Rivera as the head coach, Wright as the NFL's first black team president, and Julie Donaldson as the senior vice president of media and the first woman to be part of an NFL team's radio broadcast. The NFL also said that Petra Pope has replaced the all-female cheerleading squad with, quote, an inclusive, co-ed, diverse, athletic dance team, and that the team will no longer pose for calendars. Oh my God, that was the photo shoot in a foreign country, folks. The swimsuit calendar. But once again, that had nothing to do with the investigation. How clownish, folks. How truly clownish is this? Last paragraph, quote, over the past 18 months, Dan and Tanya have recognized the need for change because the NFL was forcing it. They recognized the need for change and have undertaken important steps to make the workplace comfortable and dignified for all employees. And those changes, if sustained and built upon, should allow the club to achieve its goal of having a truly first-tier workplace. I truly appreciate, this is Roger Goodell saying this, by the way, I truly appreciate their commitment to fully implement each of the below 10 recommendations. Those recommendations are the most baseline things I've ever seen. I truly appreciate their commitment to fully implement each of the below 10 recommendations, but the league also must ensure accountability. Oh my God, yeah, because you really got them with the accountability of $10 million fine and hiring your wife. Must ensure accountability for past deficiencies and for living up to current and future commitments, Goodell said in the statement. So once again, folks, everything's swept under the rug. They hid that one nugget of information of the cheerleading scandal in it, and then basically said this had nothing to do with that. Hid it right at the very end. So once again, folks, this is just classic garbage, protection of the brand, protection of the NFL, and this is what we get, folks. So please, when people are harping on you, hey, do the right things. Okay, I'll do the right things when people at the top start doing the right things. How about that? Alrighty, and then let's get this statement from Dan Snyder, and then we're going to go into the article by the Washington Post about the article about ESPN that they released and kind of how it's all nonsense. So let's read the statement from Dan Snyder himself. Quote, I have learned a lot in the past few months about my club. Some of this is repeat. I'll try to go through this quickly, but I believe most of this is new. I think this first paragraph was what in the article, but here we go. I have learned a lot in the past few months about how my club operated and the kind of workplace that we had. It is now clear that the culture was not what it should be, but I did not realize the extent of the problem or my role in allowing that culture to develop and continue. And I know that as the owner, I am ultimately responsible for the workplace. I have said that, and I say it again. I feel great remorse for the people who had difficult, even traumatic experiences while working here. I am truly sorry for that. I can't turn back the clock, but I promise that nobody who works here will ever have that kind of experience again, at least not as long as Tanya and I are the owners of this team. Over the last 18 months, we have made a lot of changes. We have a new and diverse leadership team, a comprehensive program of training, culture surveys, and employee support that we were mandated to do by Roger Goodell himself, and a commitment to ensuring that every employee of the Washington Football Club comes to a professional and respectful workplace every day. And while there has been real progress, we are not finished. There's been progress, but we are not finished. And we'll continue to improve each and every way that we can. I appreciate the people who came forward. Oh, do you? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you're going to have them whacked. I appreciate the people who came forward because now we know who you are and we can come after you. I appreciate the people who came forward and intend fully to implement all of the recommendations coming out of this investigation. Going forward, my focus will be on making the Washington football team a source of pride to all of its employees, fans, partners, including my partners in the NFL. I agree with the commissioner's decision. Oh, do you? You're forced to agree. I agree with the commissioner's decision in this matter and am committed to implementing his investigation's important recommendations. Oh my God, so important. Tanya will assume the responsibilities of CEO and will oversee all day-to-day team operations and represent the club on all league activities. I will concentrate my time during the next several months on developing a new stadium plan and other matters. And the man's focusing on a new stadium now. That's his punishment. You get to focus on the new stadium. Tanya and I are grateful and truly blessed that we didn't get kicked out of the great sanctuary of the NFL owners. Tanya and I are grateful and truly blessed to lead such a wonderful organization that has always stood for excellence in winning. Well, that's just bullshit. When was the last time they won? Okay, so you're not even doing that. We look forward to focusing on the team's community building and charitable efforts and are confident that with Coach Ron Rivera and team president Jason Wright, we have an outstanding management who will implement real change and bring a Super Bowl championship back to our nation's capital. Ron Rivera will do that, absolutely. All right, so that was his official response. Classic garbage nonsense. So now let's go to this article here written by the Washington Post by Sally Jenkins and kind of what she's saying about the ESPN article here. So let's go through this now. Here we go. The so-called investigative report on the nasty skirt-clutching culture inside the Washington football team has vanished like invisible ink. Thank you. Somebody calling it out like it is, folks. Have you, I want to hear y'all. Have y'all ever heard of anything that was happening in Washington? Last year, this year? No, you didn't because nobody covered it. Because it got swept right under the rug. It truly disappeared like invisible ink. Truly. But back to the article. Here we go. And somehow the NFL thinks it can make it all right by handing Tanya Snyder the mop and broom? Great. That's the perfect NFL solution, isn't it? Just to turn to the wife and say, here, you clean it up. I mean, truly. How funny is that? You have, a hostile working place environment from women, and then you use women to go and clean it up. Here, you clean up my mess. How funny. Nothing against Mrs. Snyder, who is sure to do a far more professional job overseeing the business operation of the Washington football team than the twerp who has run it like a beer-slopping stag party these past 20-some years. But what do they take us for, really? As you read the NFL statement on its months-long investigation of Daniel Snyder's cesspool of an office, and you can almost feel Commissioner Roger Goodell and his legal eagles admiring their soft shoe work as they step around the sleaze puddles. I mean, folks, they never even said anything in that article about truly what was going on. So they didn't want that in so you don't go back to last year's articles in the Washington Post on what was actually going on. That's what we're saying. Not a single allegation against Snyder himself was addressed. Folks, that's what we were saying, folks, right there. This is why we're talking about it today. We won't. Takes My fans won't let Washington and Roger Goodell get away with it. We point everything out into the limelight here. Not a single allegation against Snyder himself was addressed. No written report will be issued. And that's the biggest thing. No, we don't get the report. Why don't we get it? Let us be the jury. But you can't have that in the media. CTE and sexual allegations, the NFL will not let it come out to light because it will ruin their business. No written report will be issued, and no one is truly penalized, except, of course, the women who were peeping Tomid and pimped to sponsors. They were used as escorts, folks. It's wild. I'm telling y'all, you need to go and read that cheerleader article because it will blow your mind. They literally held them captive. They took away their passports in a foreign country and said, yeah, you can't really leave. You got to be the escorts here. It's truly crazy. I can't overstate how crazy it is enough, folks. All right, the perps, some of them, such as Larry Michael, got to retire. The main culprit was allowed to profess ignorance from the distance of a super yacht and pay a $10 million fine that amounts to slot machine money for him. Quote, I have learned a lot in the last few months about how my club operated, said the sneeringly disingenuous Snyder, who was alleged to have committed an act of sexual misconduct against an employee on a team plane for which the team reached a $1.6 million settlement. So just think of the numbers here, folks. $10 million for that entire investigation over the last 20 years, and then one lone instance of a $1.6 million settlement. Folks, are these numbers lining up at all, even close? I'm not no, it's not. The NFL's 29-paragraph statement that we just read, the NFL's 29-paragraph statement goes on interminably without disclosing a single germane fact or finding. Independent counsel Beth Wilkinson, what has she been doing over the past years? There's nothing on paper. There is no evidence. There are no conclusions. The NFL's account of her report is like a spirograph in which everything circles into a single invisible point. That's truly, yeah. We read it, folks. Was there anything of substance in that? Quote, Wilkinson was not specifically tasked with confirming or rejecting any particular allegation of inappropriate conduct. The league wrote blithely in the opening of a statement that seeks to conclude the whole matter without coming to a single conclusion. Exactly. You're not going to have this Wilkinson fined, or she's not going to confirm or reject anything. So what was she doing? Oh, okay, there's allegations. All right, let's go to boilerplate stuff. Have a good HR department. Let's have surveys. Let's have, progress reports made to the league. All right, we're out of here. Oh, yeah, we don't care if it's true or false. We look good in the media. We look good in the media. Hey, Washington, they're taking some diverse training. Pretty good, huh? $10 million fine. Pretty good, huh? Look what I did. Not confirming or denying anything. All right. It turns out that Wilkinson's job was to conduct an investigation in which nothing was to be specifically investigated. Yeah, don't look behind here. Because once again, she's hired by the NFL. The NFL doesn't want dirt dug up. She doesn't want her raking the muck. She doesn't want her to be a muckraker. It turns out that Wilkinson's job was to conduct an investigation in which nothing was to be specifically investigated. No conclusions were to be reached about any allegations that she was charged with investigating, because it was not her job to determine whether any, quote, particularly allegation of inappropriate conduct was true. It was not her job to investigate, as it turned out, any actual people. It was the building that did it, the walls. It was the staircase that peered up the dresses of the young female employees. Quote, Beth wasn't tasked with making recommendations about what should be done in terms of accountability by any individual person, said Lisa Frail of the NFL Special Counsel for Investigations. It was the carpet that did it. It was the rug that made daily rude comments to female executives in front of clients. It was the cameras, unoperated by human hand, that took lewd videos of cheerleaders without their permission and shared the good bits of their nipples and groins with unnamed team executives. The NFL statement goes on, bland and imprecious, with the fact-dulling sentence after sentence, summing up meaningless generalities while absolving any actual human of responsibility. I'm agreeing exactly what she just said in that paragraph. Fact-dulling sentence after sentence, summing up meaningless generalities while absolving any actual humans of responsibility. That is it to 100% T, folks. We literally read the entire article there. That was what the NFL put out. Quote, numerous female employees reported having experienced sexual harassment and general lack of respect in the workplace, the statement said. Numerous? Numerous? That's in the article, folks. I know I say stuff like that, but that's how it is said in the article. Try 40. That's how many women came forward publicly, including Tiffany Bacon Scowbury, who accused Snyder of trying to pressure her to join a friend of his in a hotel room at a charity event. We're talking about charity. You getting sexually harassed at a charity event? That's what's going on in Washington, folks. It's not, hey, that you got an ass like a wagon. It's like, hey, we're feeding the homeless, but I'm trying to get you with my friend. What's up with that? Fuck the homeless. Get in the back of my car. Let's have some fun. Jeez. Then there was the young female executive who said, quote, "It was like fresh meat to a pack of wolves every time a new pack of interns would come in." And of course, there were the scores of women who didn't come forward publicly, who chose to keep their accounts confidential, such as the employee who received the settlement following this episode in Snyder's plane. Snyder's vicious litigious is legendary. In his long campaign of legal intimidation over the course of the year, from private investigators contacting women to a blizzard of legal filings, appears to have worked. It scared Goodell and the league lawyers into this ludicrous soft shoe performance. All you can hear in this supposed final report is the hissing of smooth shoe leather over plush executive suit carpet. You will never know any specifics, never know the full truth. There will never be any assessment of personal responsibility. Instead, there is just 29 paragraphs of perfect non-descriptiveness, a vague humdrumming about toxic culture, all of which has the distant sound of a hush-up. All as for the dirt under the carpet, well, that's for Miss Snyder to clean up. So, nobody's taking responsibility. Nobody's being held accountable. Everything's getting swept under the rug. Nobody's talking about it. And that's what's going on in the NFL in Washington, folks. So, obviously not great. We'll never know the full truth. I highly, highly encourage you to read the Washington Post articles, because that is the most information, the most concrete information that we will ever get on what truly went down during that Washington organization period with Dan Snyder at the helm, folks. It's truly crazy. And, you know, I'm sure other teams are doing this, maybe not to the extent, maybe even worse. We don't know. We don't know. We'll never know. We will never know the truth about anything. And that's why I try to bring this stuff up, because I want to get to, you know, everything makes big headlines. Everything's shock. Oh, my God. Washington's paying a $10 million lawsuit. Wow. Wow. Why? If you just read this article, you would have no clue, no inkling of a clue of what actually was happening. But we have all these firsthand accounts. We have the text messages, and we have those cheerleader stories. So go read those to try to really get. I'm gonna try to find those articles and link it in the description of this video, because you truly got to read it. It's crazy. It's crazy, folks. It's crazy. But that's the Washington story, folks. So if you heard about it, great. If you didn't, which I'm sure most of y'all didn't, this is something to kind of, you know, ponder. So we'll move off of that. We just spent 50 minutes on it. Jeez. But, you know, folks, somebody's got to talk about it. I guess it's our duty here. It's our duty at Takes by Fans. All right.